rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the welcome to the work session for April 21st. We start out first with a 3-minute public comment section. Nobody signed up. Anybody from the audience would like to make comment? No? Deborah?
Deborah Bates, 49 Walnut Street. I just wanted to, I know that the board has gone on the record regarding the shopping center on the highway, and I understand that the town board is taking it up next Tuesday, and I would really urge you to remind them that you're opposed. It's terribly important. I think it's going to do irreparable damage to the village if it goes through, and I think it will be bad for the entire area. We're trying to maintain a rural atmosphere, and I admit at times it takes a certain degree of suspension of disbelief. But, every little attack on the rural character adds up to a cumulative disaster. So please remind them that you're opposed. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who'd like to make a comment? Okay. All right, cool. So what we have now, we got a board presentations here. So we have the 7th grade basketball team. You guys did something pretty cool, eh? Huh? All right, at OLH, the Long Island Class C Championships. So, so which one of you guys wants to come up and represent the team and brag about your accomplishments?
Everybody stand up. Don't stand up at once.
Is there a coach here?
I'd be the coach.
Okay, come on up here.
I don't know if they'll be playing, actually. Well, besides being the Class C Division Championships, and that was for the CYO, which is Catholic Youth Organization, we won for all of Long Island, that's Suffolk and Nassau counties. We have a perfect record, so we went 15-0, undefeated this year. Most of the boys here I have worked with, and they've been playing basketball since 3rd grade, or I've worked with them since 4th grade, and they have a huge amount of devotion and dedication for their team. And believe it or not, they are an excellent example of our community.
I'd see that.
Most of the time. So I'm very proud of them. And, sorry? My name is Jeannie Curran.
Yeah.
So they definitely deserve all the recognition that they're getting. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys. So we have some certificates for you guys, and we're going to want to do a team picture and everything like that. You guys okay with that? So now there's a teacher over there. This guy, Mr. Epley. Okay, he played a little basketball. You guys know him? Is he okay? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's pretty tall, so.
They dunk over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, on each other's shoulders, perhaps.
He's almost 6'5", so I don't know if maybe one of you guys will get that tall and stuff. It'll be good. So come on up here. I'll just call your name out here. Actually, you know what? Let me get my glasses so I can actually see. Okay.
Grandpa.
Yeah, Grandpa. So. All right. Brenda, you want to help me out here? Yeah. Thanks. Let's see. Here we got. Here's the first one here. Frank Belushi. Okay. All right. Good. Stand right over there. We'll put everybody up here. Dylan Cleary. Brian, there you go, okay. Not a copy, so sometimes I have Patrick Curran. Sincere faggots. Is he like your three-point shooter? He's got that strut about him.
They call him Downtown Freddie Brown, right?
That's right, downtown. Cole, yes? Jeez, I see what you guys won. You're all tall. Liam?
You can tell it's sitting down, huh?
Good. And Dakota.
Going to recognize these two are not
And-
here.
Yeah, and these guys, Matt Hall and Shane Halsey are not here tonight, so, OLH is a great school here. We're very proud of you guys that represent this community and the village, and the village is very happy to be able to give you guys recognition here. So, Coach, come on up here. We're gonna do a photo. Why don't we get a little closer, guys?
She's the co-coach. Come
Come on up here. We'll get the village board, come on down too. We stagger out, we're gonna have to get closer here, guys, so, here we go. Yeah, we'll get some guys in front here. There you go. Okay, there you go.
Should we stand behind them, Mark, so that they get the...
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right, sure, open them up.
And I think they're good here.
Really? I'm totally.
Trisha, we can't see you. She's trying for that.
Wow, these spots are working.
Now it's my turn.
Okay, all right, Charlie's gonna get it all on film now, right? Okay.
Want to get out of the way too?
There you go.
The trustees name.
Won't be able to get back up. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
You guys are a great example for this community, but you're able to do this because A, you're in a great school, and you put the,
We also have two from Southampton.
Southampton.
oh, that's okay.
We balance it out.
Balance it out, but also, you need to thank your parents too, because they're out there driving you to practice, picking you up, driving you to the games, doing all of this stuff, and you guys are lucky to have good parents that are involved, and congratulations, guys. Good job. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
The names on the back. Very welcome. Very, very welcome. Proud of you guys. Very good.
Oh, congratulations. Nice, nice. Oh. Okay. You're the three-point shot? So, I was a guy. So.
A long time ago, all
There you
right?
go, yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Great job.
Nobody left it. Yeah, that's it, okay. Let's go away. Starting. Okay.
All right, so we have the The ongoing public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 5/31, 2016.
Ready?
Do we have any comments from the board after looking at this? Do we have any comments from the public reference to the budget? And Steve, if you want to just summarize again
Sure,
for
really
the...
quick highlight, as we did
Yep.
last meeting.
Yep.
Going to the last page, obviously the whole focus is regard to the tax cap. The tax-based growth factor, which is assigned by New York State to Southampton Village, is 1.99%. And the allowable growth factor, because of inflation, is 1.68% rather than 2%. Combined factors allows us to raise a levy 3.7%, which is what we're sticking with. The total budget has increased $456,000, which is 1.71% over last year. The rate is going from 18.4379 to 18.73, a 1.58% increase. As far as the revenue is concerned, just highlighting some of the things we did change. We raised the utility tax by $20,000. We're already at $360 with another 6 weeks to go. Building inspector fees we raised by $60,000. Very conservative number. We're at $1,789,000 so far through the end of April. Federal aid is down $541,000 based on 2 grants that we had in last year's budget that are not in this year's budget. And corresponding expenses on that shows a reduction in Trustees special project by $721,000, again because there's no expenditures in those 2 grants. Okay. I just want to phrase that all the guys, as we usually do, we're zero-based budgeting, where they do not take last year's numbers and just raise it by a certain increase. They start from scratch every year, and you'll see on these pages there are categories that have gone down as well as up. Central garage, we've raised contractual expense by $70,000. There is a tremendous amount of work that they're behind on, which we're going to start forming out this year, and we have to. Radio operators in the police budget on page 7 is up $99,000. It's based on adding new staff in there. Page 9, contractual services are down because we moved the building inspector to the upper floor. We did raise, as we had discussed, the personal services for the zoning board, planning board, and ARB, and the planning commission to be $6,000 for the chairman and $4,000 for the members on an annual basis. On the highway, the equipment's down $10,005. Contractual services up about $210,000, which is basically going to be draining and paving and drainage work from this winter that we've endured. On page 15, employee benefits, state retirement is down $53,000 and police retirement is down $139,000. However, we had a huge increase in workers' comp by $170,000 due to our track record. We're putting in some pretty strong training programs and cutting into some of the benefits if guys are out on disability, just trying to get that number back down. Right. So we are making some strides. I had a meeting last week with the workers' comp people, and they're very happy with the efforts that we're making. We just have to make a dent in that. And on page 17, the certiorari claims are down $370,000. We settled quite a few claims over the past year. And debt service, even though we adopted the ambulance bond, is only up $89,000 because we paid off 3 installment bonds this year. So the net effect is only up $89,000.
Great. Okay, with that summary, anyone else from the public would like to make comment? Anybody from the village board like to make comment here? Steve, as always, you do a fantastic job for us, and the information here is, always, very transparent. And it's easy to read, and the changes that you've made since you've been here is just.
One thing I just want to
Yep.
say about the debt service, I did allude to last time too. I think of all the numbers and the decrease, I think that's a very, very important number with the improvements and the additions and all the stuff we've done for all the departments here. And that's the net increase because of how you have been able to, you personally, as a wonderful CPA, been able to dig up and refinance and we've taken advantage of all the lower rates. And,
Right, those been the
I think because people
Great
come up like
environment.
all the things we do and the new building and this and that, but at the end of the day, that's what the net increase overall was, which is nothing.
Right.
compared to what we're getting for it. So I think that's a
Quite
big part.
nice equipment over the last couple of years,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I think-
Improvements in our bond rating, you know, I mean, because the reality is, we really weren't doing much borrowing at all.
Right.
Our bond rating was low, and even our reserves were not where they should be in our fiscal policy, and all these changes that you put in place since you've been here. So, you know, a big piece of this is due to you and
I appreciate it.
your
Thank you.
leadership and stuff, so, thank you. That being said, anyone else from the public would like to make comments? Okay, so we should take action, and, you know, we've had two.
Need to close the public
hearings.
hearing first.
So I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the proposed fiscal budget.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to adopt the budget?
And I'll make a motion to adopt the budget ending fiscal year 5/31/2016.
Second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Trustee Yaz?
Aye.
Trustee Irving?
Aye.
Mayor Epley?
Aye.
Trustee McGann?
Aye.
Trustee Patrick?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done to all the department heads too, and the chief is here. Nice job, chief, with the police department, so. Everybody's always complaining about the police department budget, so. Yeah, there you go. So, you did a good job, really. You and your team there did a nice job, so, great. Communications to the board?
First one is Southampton Fresh Air Home. The Southampton Fresh Air Home is once again requesting assistance from the Village of Southampton with our fundraiser scheduled for Friday, July 3rd, rain date Sunday, July 4th, which actually should be
Fifth.
Saturday, July 4th, correct. At 1030 Meadow Lane, the home of Danielle and David Gannett. The support of the village in the past has enabled us to continue to host this event, which raises approximately 40% of our annual operating revenue. All of us at the SFAH appreciate the help of your office as well as the assistance of the police and the fire departments. We respectively ask for a parking exception on the north side of Meadow Lane for the evening of the event. As in prior year, the home will provide valet parking services to park vehicles of guests and vendors that come to the event. SFAH has a clear understanding of the necessity of keeping the south side of Meadow Lane free and clear of parked cars, and our guests will be informed that traffic rules will be enforced. It would also be helpful if your office could issue a half-dozen permits for parking the day of the event for vendors and staff who are setting up and loading in the event. We once again ask for permission to collect donations at Cooper's Beach as a way of contributing to the cost of the Grucci Fireworks National Display that we sponsor for the benefit of our physically challenged children that come to the home every year. Over the past several years, with the assistance of the village, we've been successful in raising money by asking for voluntary contributions from spectators who gather at Cooper's Beach to enjoy the fireworks display. If you have any questions, need additional information, please don't hesitate to contact me. Many thanks in advance for your help. Thomas Narrow, Executive Director.
Yeah, I mean, this is good tradition in the village. People gather from all over to attend the fireworks, and if you've never had an opportunity to go up to the Southampton Fresh Air Home, you should take that and go and see the place. The staff is wonderful, and the board of directors do a yeoman's job there, and these kids are incredible. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize Southampton Fresh Air Home to hold their annual fireworks show in accordance with their letter dated April 7, 2015.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second item is from Sarah Holden. We're very excited to be holding the Southampton High School Prom at the Southampton Center on June 20th, 2015. We would like to ask the village for permission for students and parents, around 300 people, to gather at Agawam Park before the prom at 6 p.m. on the evening of June 20th. We would not need any equipment. We simply need garbage cans and bathrooms available. Please let us know if the village board approves our request. Thank you, Sarah Smith.
Is that Friday night? The 20th? What day is that?
I think it is a...
I don't have it.
I have one here. He'll probably find it
Got one,
faster.
Isn't it?
calendar.
It's a Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah.
okay, all right. All the technology in the world, it took us that long to find out what day of the week that was, so.
So, what is the purpose of the meeting at Agawam if
They
the
wanna
party
take
is at
pictures.
this? Oh, is that
Pictures.
it? Oh, I
Pictures,
see,
so-
down by the monument.
Right.
Oh, how nice.
Yep,
That's very
and the
nice.
boardwalk and,
Yeah.
that whole area.
I'm actually so excited about the prom, the high school doing this, because they're holding the prom at the Southampton Arts Center.
Oh, great.
And, historically, they've held it in other places in Riverhead and on the North Fork at different places. And the PBA has always volunteered their time to provide security. And this year, they've asked to do it at the Southampton Arts Center. And it's the place is turning into exactly what we'd hope. It was a true community building. And I think this.
Will the tent go up to them?
No, they'll be all inside.
Inside? Wow.
All inside.
Great.
So it'll be I think, a great event for the kids, and what a great. I think it's pretty cool to have the whole class down at Agawam and then have them walk up to
pretty
the,
great.
Yeah.
take all the pictures
Be
of
a
the
big start.
boardwalk and the. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Southampton High School to gather at Agawam Park in accordance with their email dated Friday, April 17th, for pre-prom pictures and gathering.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Last one is from the Southampton Montessori School. With spring finally here, the Southampton Montessori School once again looks forward to our annual field day at Agawam Park. Thanks to the generosity of Southampton Village, this has become a favorite and much anticipated school event. We would like to reserve Thursday, May 21st, with Thursday, May 28th as a rain date for this year's field day, which would run between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. The activities will include relay races, a picnic lunch, and kite flying. The village's cooperation in notifying the police and maintenance departments to provide for parking and restroom use is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your kind consideration in response to this request. Please contact myself or Donna Hopping at the above telephone number or email address. Irene Gaza.
Yeah, they do this every year. So it's pretty neat to come down and see the kids do the field day at because they don't have space at Montessori School to be able to do this. So it's a great event. And they play on the playground and do all sorts of stuff. So. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Southampton Montessori School to utilize Agawam Park for their field day in accordance with their letter dated April 14th, 2015.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Also, just like in communications to the board, I know that individual board members are getting communications in reference to the Tuckahoe Center.
There's a whole bunch of them here.
And we're not going to read them, but
Right.
we could, if you want to, just read the top one, and then we'll submit it into the record, some of the emails that are coming in, and, well, the communications that we have, and then we'll,
There's quite a number of them.
Yeah.
I think I'll read this one.
Okay.
Dear Mayor and Trustees of the Village of Southampton, the proposed Tuckahoe Center is unacceptable for a number of reasons. First, the increased traffic, parentheses, year-round throughout the western part of the residential area of the village is potentially hazardous. Second, the location of the mall on County Road 39 will be an additional traffic hazard on an already dangerous and heavily traveled highway. Please counsel the town board to refer to the master plan of the town regarding rezoning. Third, the negative impact it will have on all the businesses in the village. Bring pressure to bear on the corporation that owns Walbaum's to upgrade the site to be a truly fine grocery store. She's asking the board to bring pressure to Walbaum's to upgrade the grocery store. Finally, it is not a hardship for residents of Southampton to travel to either Hampton Bays or Bridgehampton to shop for food. Encourage everyone to use local grocery stores in the village of Southampton, North Sea, and/or Noriac. It is imperative that people support local businesses. Therefore, I ask you as a group, Mayor and trustees, attend the town board meeting on April 28th, 2015 to represent the residents of the village of Southampton. Thank you sincerely, Ann Lynch, Old Town Crossing, Southampton. So we have a number of them.
yeah. So, and I think there's only one that came in support of the Tuckahoe
Right.
Center. All the other ones came in opposition to it. So, if anybody else receives emails and you want to get them as part of our official record, and I'd like to be able to deliver those to the town board, I think it's important. So we'll just put it into our record too, so.
Right, I have them here.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, resolutions, item 1, resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of April 9th, 2015 be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Got a motion?
Motion?
Second? All in favor?
Abstain.
Item 2, resolved that the claims for the warrant dated April 21st, 2015 totaling $362,162.80, warrant 13 general fund, $63,269.20, warrant 11 capital reserve fund, and $628.19, warrant 11 trust fund, and the village payroll for the period ended April 16th, 2015 be ordered and approved. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second?
Discussion? Page 1, Aldo Andrioli, April engineering fee, $3,250. Braun Marketing, spring newsletter, $4,623.95. Buzz Chew, Chevrolet Olds, $1,188.51. Inspection and parts of the garage. Page 3, Ivory Dennis Jr., Fire Department medical reimbursement, $1,000. Kevin Guadera, ZBA medical reimbursement, $1,000. Page 4, Hartcorn Plumbing and Heating, sprinkler repair at the firehouse, $1,247.60. Ingerman Smith, legal fee for the architect contract, $1,357.50. Ghislaine Lagoon, ambulance volunteer, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Nelson Pope and Dory's on page 6, a secret study for the ambulance barn, $4,852.50. Norsec and Son Highway Carting, $4,185. New York State Health Insurance, May, $259,229.05. Page 7, Pine Barns Printing, beach permits and maps, $2,797.66. Professional estate care for Old Ridge Lane, $4,500. PSE&G for the police department, $7221.46, and street lighting, $6,614.7. Rico's Clothing on page 8, fire department shirts, $2,750. Page 9, Anthony Stevens, fire department medical reimbursement, $1,000. Strong's Marine Services for the fire department boat, $2,572.37. Vince Toomey, going on to page 9, Marshall legal fees, $21,259.91. And Verizon phone bill for March, $4,159.91. Page 11, WG Service, HVAC repair at PD, $1,415. Capital reserve warrant, high-tech fire and safety turnout gear for the fire department, $1,334.56. JP Mulvey Plumbing and Heating, on-account payment for the heating system at Village Hall, $25,000. And National Auto Fleet Group, building maintenance vehicle, $36,934.64. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the appointing of the following individuals as election inspectors for the village election on June 19, 2015, effective April 21st, 2015. Gina Arresta, chairperson, 9 to 9, $25 an hour. Georgette Japek, 9 to 9, $20 an hour. Gail Riesig, 9 to 9, $20 an hour. Mariette Pincus, 9 to 9, $20 an hour. Rachel Foster, 9 to 9, $20 an hour. Betty Nichols, 9 to 9, $20 an hour. Jenny Fillingerl, 9 to 9, $25 an hour. And Diane Fisher, $25 an hour. Have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate line item overages for the period ending April 21st, 2015. Have a motion?
Second.
Discussion, item 1, $3,500 into clerk contractual, $1,000 into clerk telephone, $25,000 into legal contractual, with $29,500 coming from trustees special projects. Item 2, $8,000 into Billy's overtime from trustees special projects. Item 3, $3,000 into central garage contractual from central garage supplies. And the last one is $10,000 to the street maintenance contractual from street maintenance fuel. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5, whereas the Board of Trustees has adopted a budget for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2015 that does not require a real property tax levy in excess of the amount otherwise prescribed in General Municipal Law, Section 3C. And whereas the village had adopted Local Law 1 of 2015 authorizing tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C. So therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby repeals Local Law Number 1 of 2015 as provided in Section 4 of such law. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second. Let's do a discussion around this,
Yes.
so,
There hasn't
yeah.
there.
Let's see, by law, now that we've passed the budget.
Right.
And that we didn't exceed the 2% tax cap, we have to go back and repeal the local law that we passed earlier that gave us the authority to override the tax cap.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what this is.
Right. And that's the second piece of
Okay.
the tax freeze of this whole act, which is coming into effect this year.
By doing that, village taxpayers will be allowed to get an income tax credit on their income tax returns.
So we'd like to do that, so that way the village taxpayers would get that credit, so. Because I know I'd like to have it, I think everybody else up here would like to have it, so. It's no, it's the right thing to do, so it's part of the process.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Whereas.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves and adopts the attached anti-harassment policy as updated by Vincent Toomey, Labor Council. Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion. This is a policy that was encompassed into our employee manual, that there's been some resistance from the union on us issuing that because it's questions about what takes precedence, either the union contract or the employee manual. So this is one of the first policies that I'm going to be carving out of this manual and being issued on a separate. The next one I'm working on is a cell phone policy, which again is all into that whole manual, but take it piece by piece.
Yeah. It's very thorough. And basically, it talks about every form of harassment that is out there, from verbal to racial to physical to, and it sets a very strong policy in place, position of the village board, and supports any, helps us from an employment standpoint. So if we have to take action on an employee because of their behavior, this is the policy that's in place, so it's substantial.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Last item, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following payments from the capital reserve account, subject to permissive referendum. High-tech fire and safety, $1,334.56 fire equipment reserve. JP Mulvey Plumbing, $25,000 from the facilities reserve. And National Auto Fleet Group, $36,934.64 from the major equipment reserve. Have a motion?
The motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, discussion items. Item one is the online access for the property taxes. That portal has been completely been resolved with any bugs. It's on our website, right on the front page. You just hit departments, you go to tax receiver, and anybody from the outside can research the tax amounts on a property, the assessed value, get a reprint of their tax bill, of their paid tax receipt, research ownership of the property, and lien history. All right. Danielle is absolutely thrilled that she already has seen a substantial decrease in the phone calls that she's getting with regard to people questioning what's going on. Obviously, the next piece that we have to get done is the building inspector, but there's about a half a dozen items that they have to resolve, but until that traffic slows down up there,
Right.
it's tough to get them to focus on it. All right. Item two is, I've had a request for a crosswalk at the Dune Church. From some of the members of the church.
Okay.
I did speak to Gary about it. It is possible. The only downside is that you could probably lose about 2 parking spaces on the church side. So it's a question of whether we wanted to do that or not.
Who at the church requested, and do they
Or
realize
is
that
the
they're going to
email there
lose?
from, in the discussion section from Alan McFarland? He's representing a bunch of the,
They realize that it would cost them 2 parking places?
Yeah.
I like the correspondence.
I mean, you
Can
also.
we make it a smaller crosswalk and just lose one?
I don't know if you can do that. I mean, it's once you put it.
Or also a question, should we, if we are interested in doing it, should we contact the bathing corp, because that's all on that same strip, right next door.
Is there any place that we can gain them back? I mean, it only is from 11 to 12 o'clock or whatever the service is, isn't it? Or is it
Well, it's
earlier
just
in
the issue that if you do put in a crosswalk, you need to take out, you're striping along the
We need-
sidewalk there, so you're gonna
We need
lose
the
2
ramp,
spots
we need
there,
the
right?
handicap ramp
Right.
at that point in time. So you're gonna lose 2 parking spots to accommodate the crosswalk plus the handicap ramp.
So you're saying, is it worth doing for just, what, couple hours a week?
Well,
Is it,
I
I mean,
think-
how they're
I
active
was,
is it?
I
I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking properly. I was thinking we would lose it only for a period of time, but you're losing it because of the walkway.
Yeah.
But is there any other places that we could gain it back? No? Down
Really,
further?
yeah.
No?
A lot of people cross there. A lot of people will pull over to the
Yeah,
right
they all
side,
cross anyway, yeah.
and they walk across, take photos and things like
Yeah.
that, so it would be a good idea. The traffic through there is pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's, yeah, it does get a lot of,
Mhm.
in the summertime, so why don't we
Can we
reach
go
out to the
down there
bathing
and look
corp?
at them?
Okay.
Let's reach out to the bathing corp, everybody go down and look at the parking spots, and then come back at the next meeting
Okay.
and be prepared to, so we got a little bit of time here, so.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay, the next one is SYS, 5K, is it 5K? 5K, again, on Saturday, July 25th. 150 people from 8 AM to 11 AM.
It's the 5K that they've been doing for the past several years. Normally, it's not any kind of problem. Basically, it's a standard route. So,
Little route. That was years ago.
because
From the
Pond
cultural center.
Lane, yeah, Pond Lane to First Neck down Great Plains, to Captain's Neck, and then up to Fox Pasture and back. Couple little hills afford some walking opportunities in there. So, oxygen, we had oxygen behind some of the trees. I do. So. Any
nice.
comments on this?
That'd be great.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Southampton Youth Services to hold their annual 5K run on Saturday, July 25th, in accordance with their application.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
The last one is the Roaring Thunder, which is the ad company that we engaged 2 to 3 years ago with regard to advertising on the heliport. There's a mock-up of their new ad here. I know last year they put in, it's Wheels Up is the company that is contracted with them to be on that pad. Last year, they, did it without coming to us first. They should not have. We had a couple of arguments about that, but anyway, last year, the color was a lot brighter than what's looking here. So here's a mock-up of what they're looking to do. It would run from May 1st for 5 months. The fee is $8,300 per month, of which we get 55% of that, so our take on it would be $22,825, subject to board approval if we want to throw this ad.
Big thing for me is the color, because they had that royal blue color down
Right.
there that
Yeah.
really.
Well, that's why I asked him, I says, is this the actual color that we're gonna have
Okay.
this year? And he said,
Okay.
yes, that's the one.
Do they just paint it on the surface?
It's
Yeah.
painted on the surface.
Yeah, it's not where the helicopter actually lands, it's that tarmac between the landing pad and the fence. It's 22 feet by 53 feet.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or anything like that? So, all right, so authorize the heliport ad in accordance with the
Mock-up.
mock-up here.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. I think the comments from, we have no more discussion items, comments from board members here, trustee as.
Yeah, I just want to recognize a couple of departments. Last Thursday, I think it was, the 17th, with the gas chief, right? Was that when National Grid? Chief Brenner wanted me, of the Southampton Fire Department. They had a National Grid, did a gas venting over on the west part of the village. And because of that, a bunch of gas, smell of gas calls went throughout the village and a little west of the, east of the village into, expanding district into Watermill. So I want to commend the Southampton Fire Department because the chief said about 40 people responded, 40 members responded, volunteers, to handle 10-plus calls simultaneously because the calls are rolling in for everybody with the smell of gas. Because as the venting was being done, there happened to be a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind heading east. That, again, everybody got a whiff of the gas. So, and the police department, of course, responding to these calls, and the dispatch was call center was very busy that morning. Of course, the wind died down when National Grid was done. So, but I do want to commend them, and actually, out of all of that, and I want to commend the people too for actually making the call, because out of all of those calls, there actually was an actual gas leak in one of the houses. So, so it's never to be taken lightly when these volunteers go out and answer all these calls. Yes, the majority of them are false alarms or something like this that happened, but they have to respond to all of them. And again, there were a crew of about 40 guys literally running around this village from end to end, answering all these calls simultaneously, along with the police department. So I just want to recognize everybody that did show up for that and did a good service for the village that day. So thank you.
Great. Michael?
Well, the first thing is, I want to congratulate you for a new addition to the Epley family.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my
growing.
son on Friday,
It keeps
his
growing.
wife had a baby girl, so everybody was happy, healthy, and I caught Michael here. I'm a long way away from Bill, and I'll never catch you, I don't think, Bill, so
How many do you have?
just two.
18 more?
They worked
Like I
pretty
said.
quickly at it, so yeah, pretty quickly there, boss.
I don't know, so, thanks, Michael.
And then on another issue, Nancy, with this shopping center, the general conversation is constantly around the center and the traffic impacts and the impacts on the village, which are very rightly so and big concerns. But I think the other concern that really hasn't been stressed as much is the concern of a zone change. And that is, if you change zoning for an area to allow a specific function in that area, you're really going against a very serious thing, and it has to be looked at and reviewed. And the reason that they have the zoning they do on County Road 39 is because of the traffic. And they realize that you can't have high-volume stores along that road. I mean, that road is a very serious and scary road. There's no shoulder. There's nowheres to go if you have an incident that it takes place in front of you or on the side of you. You're really locked in there. And to look at that and have the responsibility of changing the zone to allow the shopping center is I think, pretty much unheard of. It's out of line.
Yeah. Well, next Tuesday night, village board members have to be there.
Yeah, I would ask Nancy to email me, because
I will.
I forget easily.
I really want everyone on this board to go to that meeting,
Yeah.
and the reason why I want you to is because Mark has been there, I've been there, and I feel like with the absence of the rest of you, it's almost like no word means that you're not against it, even though you may be against it. So I think we have to come out, we have to be very strong about it, and you're absolutely right about changing the zone. I mean, the highway business zone was put in place because that is the only way to get further east from Southampton. And right now, the road is used, 51,000 cars use that road. Is it on a daily basis, I think? On a daily basis. Now, that's unbelievable. And during the summertime, it's even more than that. And a supermarket generates between 6,000 and 12,000 visits a week. And quite honestly, I think that's being conservative, because a woman at the town meeting mentioned that she asked King Cullen in Hampton Bays, how many visitors have you had today? in the middle of March, and they said 1,500 in one day. And that's in the middle of the winter. We're not even talking about summer people being here. So to change that zone, there are developers sitting out there waiting to see. There are property owners sitting out there waiting to see that change. They all want to see the change because they all know that eventually a developer will work hard enough to get what they want in there. And we can't allow that to happen. I mean, we have two huge properties between the driving range and the Elks, and I know you have, Bill, continuously talked about the driving range, and the Hanson family does not have the driving range up for sale. But who knows what will happen to the Elks grounds. And, I see someone coming along, I see Target or Home Depot wanting to go in there. And, that was the other thing. Everybody got up and said, oh, we need a new supermarket. We need a new supermarket. No, you want a new supermarket. I mean, who ever heard of 6 miles being too far to drive for groceries? I've never heard of such a thing. People travel way distances much more than that. Plus, we have a grocery store here. Could it be better? Yes. And we're hoping that we're going to get them to make it better. But we have 2 other food stores besides that. So I'm concerned about the zone change, very much so concerned about the zone change, but I'm also extremely concerned about the impact on County Road 39 and how that people will figure out a different way to go, and the different way to go is going to be through our village. That will become the route of choice because that will be the easier way to get around County Road 39, which is in gridlock a lot, especially on the weekends. So we have a problem, and it's a real problem, and, I've been aware of it and been trying to put my 2 cents in wherever I can, and we put it in the newsletter, and so that's why we're getting a lot of the village newsletter, which goes to all the town residents. I had a man call today, he wrote a little note, and I called him back. He's in the city, he lives on Moses, and he said to me, I'm so grateful that you put it in there because I had not a clue. I had no idea that this was going on. Well, of course not, because it was in the dead of the winter when this came up, when there was snow was 3 feet high. So I'm hoping that it even if you're for it, I'm hoping that people will now get to see what's going on and they can voice their opinion. So anyway, I urge anyone who's out there to step up and, voice their opinion on it.
Nancy, I'd like to thank you for bringing it to the public.
Oh, thank
because
you.
you've really done a
Right.
great job. You've been at all those meetings and the newsletter, it was terrific. There was a lot of response after that.
And I think it's just beginning, I hope. Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Like I said, you garnered, like I said last time, quite a fan base from your last public
Well, you
presentation
know
with the
what?
town
It's-
board, because,
You
struck
know-
a chord with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think when we're having a discussion about want versus need, I listen to everybody, as I said, say how much we need, but basically, I don't see any proof of how we need this. What I see is a want list.
I agree with you 1,000%, because
Yeah,
we,
and-
you know,
And you know what? We're in a different age now. People, as far as getting to Hampton Bays, where they have several other grocery stores, if they find Wolbaum's is not adequate for them, and Citarella and Schmidt's is not adequate for them, you can also get over to Bridgehampton on all of the back roads, and you know how to travel. You're not going to travel on a Friday night at 7 o'clock to go do your grocery shopping in Bridgehampton on Montauk Highway. So people figure it out, and it's not out of the question to be able to use the facilities that we have here right now. And
We actually have, I counted them, I sat down and went, well, what do we have here? We have 5 grocery stores. They're small, but
different
there's
markets.
5.
Right.
Yes.
From cantinas to clam to, and, for staples, we have CVS.
right.
I mean, there is really, it's
And
it's
that's not-
hard
That's not
to,
even including once the spring and summer with the farmers markets.
Yeah.
Along the sides. As I've always said, with discussion about an additional market into the area is nothing brand new. I've always clearly said there's a difference between desire and need, and I'm glad it's finally gained momentum, because quite honestly, the needs are met. Everybody's needs are met, as you just said, between Hampton Bays, Bridgehampton, different markets within the village of various price ranges. I actually go to Wallbaum's quite a bit. I don't find it as arduous as a lot of people find, and I'm in there getting stuff at various times. I kind of view the Wallbaum's as what the old IGA was. That's
Right.
the cheap market now.
That's-
The price isn't, because they're in stiff competition. Somebody actually quoted as King Cullen being the price thing, which is not, or the price saver, which it's not. King
It's
Cullen, it's
not.
a great store, selection, but it's expensive. Wallbaum's, to me, has become the new IGA. Accessible, quick, and cheap. So as far as I'm concerned, the needs of the public are met and have been met for quite some time. The desire to maybe go elsewhere, that's a different story. And whether things need to be changed and uprooted and altered in zoning change, that's not worth
That's right. It's
feeding
not
a
worth it.
desire. And that's what I look at, as always has been. And again, the whole need for a market is that discussion, we've had this discussion with some, or my issue has always been precedent establishment, and you just alluded to it once again, somebody waiting in the wings.
Right.
There's a reason why I didn't want to do stuff even on our own backyard, because I was waiting if the town would perceive that as a go-ahead, and here we are, the town, and whereas the village are stepping up saying, again, I've always said need versus desire, and needs are met. I don't care what anybody says. The needs are being met. You don't have to travel from here to Patchogue to get food. There's pretty close things. Not to even mention, everybody talks about King Cullen and Hampton Bays. There's shop right there too. So the needs are purely met.
And also,
desire.
what a lot of people don't realize, and I think this will start happening more and more and more, people are shopping for food online. I mean, they really are. I have friends of mine who said, go into Wallbaum's. You can't even believe how easy it is. And they deliver out of Riverhead. It's not this Wallbaum's. So they do that. If you look during the summertime, a lot of people who come out here and spend the summer here order from Fresh Direct or from Peapod. I know local people who are ordering because their life is so busy that they can't take the time to go shopping. And so they don't take the time to go shopping.
It doesn't cost
So
anything extra either.
that's going to happen more and more and more and more. And I think when people come out here on the weekends, they don't want to get in traffic to go to the supermarket. They want to be able to enjoy it. They want the food here for them, or they want it delivered while they're here. And then they can enjoy their leisure time. So I think that definitely is happening. And then the other thing is, as much as I hate to admit it, and it happens all the time, if people can get in their car and go to Riverhead, to go to BJ's and to Costco and to Target, they certainly can go to Hampton Bays or Riverhead, or Bridgehampton to pick up any of the groceries if they don't want to go there. But people are going to those larger stores to pick up huge amounts of paper towel and toilet tissue and all of the things in the larger amounts to get them through the summer. So that's happening. So I'm not buying the fact that they're saying there's a need for this. There isn't a need. It was brought up that 4,000 houses were built between 1971 and now, I think west of here. And I'm like, well, west of here, they could go to Hampton Bays. But then I'm thinking, all the more reason why you don't put a busy store on a highway, because those 4,000 people have to get around. And then also, look at all of the people that road has to accommodate all of East Hampton, all of Amagansett, all of Bridgehampton, all of Wainscott, all of Sagaponack, all of North Sea, all of Noyak, all of Sag Harbor, all of North Haven. They only have one way to get there, and that's from that road. And now, between McGee Street and Sandy Hollow Road, which is probably the busiest because you have all those roads converging, now they're going to add that to the mix in that location. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. So that's
So
what I
how do
have
you
to
really
say.
feel, Nancy?
That's how I feel.
Thank you for your passion on that. So village residents are very lucky to have you
Thanks.
in that leadership. So, Bill?
Nancy, if you could send me that email reminder
Okay.
too.
Okay.
I just wanted to pass
Maybe
this
you can do
down
it,
to each of you, and including Rick. And Brenda, could you give this to Erin McGinley or something? Mark, in your absence, last week I mentioned something, about the
Community preservation.
Community Preservation Fund and what we put in and what we get out, and I did say something to our faithful servant Steve, and he gave me, somewhere he got a complete run of it, which I didn't go to the trouble to make 6 copies of that, but in any
I
event.
can't take credit. Brenda ran out of it.
Brenda did that? Okay, Brenda, thank you so much. Anyhow, it's just kind of interesting, and I think from an email I got from Rick, there's probably not a whole lot you can do about it, but it is interesting to notice, and here what I tried to highlight is that the biggest loser to date, this is a compilation of all the monies that they collected from 1999 through 9/30/14. And the Village of Southampton put in $122,728,000 and got back $17 million, and basically we lost 86% of our money. And it's just kind of interesting to look at some of the others. Sag Harbor looks like they cleaned house, but if you'll see, they have a separate entry for Sag Harbor Village so that it's not anything like the disparity that appears to be there. But first place goes to Hampton Bays for getting 342% more than they put in, and second place, East Quogue, got 326% more. An interesting thing, Mark, I know you have some familiarity with it, and I'm sure there are all kinds of rules, and rules are rules. But Kevin Lusk called me. He happened to watch the movie of last week's meeting, and he said, you know, a year or 2 ago, we were trying to replace that garage on the historical building, and we needed $50,000 in the worst way. We went to them and so on, and it would seem to me, and I look at you and your endeavor to do something with the old Parish Art Museum, and where I wish you might just see if there is a way, and if there isn't, there isn't. But this, I think, frankly, just as the traffic situation on County Road 29 is going to worsen probably 5% a year for the foreseeable future as more and more homes get built west of the Sunrise Highway all the way out to Montauk Lighthouse. I think we're going to be putting in more and more money and getting back even less than we were. So if there's any way to, it certainly is interesting that we have put in that kind of money. You know, when we're doing our budget tonight, wouldn't it be nice if we had the difference between 122 million and 17 million to put towards our budget? But anyhow, it was a great program. It truly was, and I commend those people, Fred Thiel, and those who promoted in the first place. But it is kind of interesting. I thought you'd just like to see the facts. That's where we stand, and
It's a great spreadsheet, and that's always the challenge, because I sit on the CPF advisory committee and have for quite a long time, and to try to find properties inside the village that meet the requirements of the Community Preservation Fund and what we can do with them. You know, if you buy I'm going to throw the old library out. We bought the old library with CPF funds. Then we could preserve that building, but you couldn't use it. Like, you couldn't have a not-for-profit, in there, and a bunch of different, it's community space, because you can't use it as community building. So it's, it'd have to be set up as a museum, or it'd have to have certain designation on it. And it really is, it's a great thing. We've preserved a lot of great land around here, and kept the open space and preserved the waterways, and we've really tried, one of the things we've really tried to accomplish is the acquisition of properties along Meadow Lane, that on the north side of Meadow Lane, that, to preserve those lands. We've had a couple of opportunities that we're had building envelopes down there with CPF money. We were able to preserve that. But again, 122 million put into it, 17 million spent on
it's our lost leader.
Yeah, it's, but it's an interesting dynamic, and when we're pulling property off the tax rolls and outside of the village of Southampton, and when you pull those off, and then what's really, what's the unintended consequences of doing that? Now, actually, the value of the properties in the village of Southampton increase. So from the town standpoint, because we paid into the town general tax fund, okay, our values increase, the overall tax base inside the town is actually, every time we purchase property, we're actually lowering that.
Yeah.
And so the village Southampton, which is about 5% of the, I think it's 4.5% of the overall square mileage in the town of Southampton, is around 18 to 20% of the general fund money for the town. So then you wonder, well, from a service standpoint, what are we getting in return? So,
A new supermarket.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. How about an upgraded
Thanks, but no
Walmart?
thanks.
So, yeah.
Anyhow, I thought you'd
But,
get a
no,
kick
this-
out of
This
this.
is fantastic information, so,
Sharon, you might be able to
yeah.
find this a worthy subject, just for public information as to who the winners and losers.
CPF, but I'll pass it along.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
One other thing that I just wanted to mention, that in talking to somebody, about some of the homes that have gone up in the village, and the two that have gone up on Moses Lane that, Mark, I know you're very aware of. And it was suggested to me that I put it before the board to change the name of that street to the expression that is most often heard by people driving by those new houses, so we would change it from Moses Lane to Holy Moses. And, somebody even said holy something else, but that might be pushing the envelope. But anyhow,
Okay.
enough said.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. One is that, at the last planning commission, they talked in reference to where we were with the moratorium, and then also they're gonna be bringing back recommendations for, defining a residential parking spot and defining a bedroom in the village. So those are two things I think are extremely important. The sort of our May public hearing, we'll have a presentation with the planning commission. We'll bring back their results of their study and making
is that?
recommendations, our May meeting.
Their
The
May
fir-
meeting or our May?
Our May meeting. At their first May meeting, which will be the first Thursday of the month,
Right.
they're going to discuss that and bring back, finalize their recommendations to send to the village board.
Okay.
So we should have that to us at second Thursday.
Now,
of the
can I
month.
ask,
Yep.
in that recommendation, are they also discussing the heights of the buildings? Or is this only having to do with, as it relates to FEMA, or are they also discussing the heights of the buildings on the smaller lots?
Well, we have to resolve the moratorium component, but also I do know that they are in discussions right now about looking at the heights of the properties in the smaller lots too. So I know it's part of it, and it's,
And I have a question regarding the parking. Maybe Rick can answer this question. As it came up, we all know that the amount of parking that's required on any of these new buildings is 2 cars for 3 bedrooms, 3 cars for 4 bedrooms, 4 cars for 5, and it goes up 1 car per bedroom. So that's the concern, because, what I got from the last meeting was that they feel that the department is not really watching over that the way that they should, and they gave a couple of examples. You weren't here, but they showed a few houses that really created some parking in the front for 2 cars, another parking that would pull up by the side of the house. If you looked at the aerial, it looked like behind the fence was another spot, but they'd be stacked then. And basically, it should have probably had parking for 5 or 6 cars, and it wasn't enough. And that house is done, sold, and you can't go back, okay, which is disturbing. So the question that I have is, we really cannot, their thoughts were, if that's the case, we're gonna have all this parking on the street because guests, family members who are coming to visit will not be able to park in the yard, and they probably don't have 80 feet to do a circular drive, so they can come in and come out. But J.D. Singh from the Southampton Association said, I don't care if you give them more parking in the front yard, but do we have an ordinance? Do we have an ordinance against front yard parking? Because I'm noticing more front yard parking now.
We amended the code a few years ago to allow front yard parking, I think with a setback of 10 feet
10 feet from the property line?
from the street line.
Oh, from the street line.
And the property lines.
We loosened it up with that and curb cuts.
But it includes, it's screening.
Right.
And there's also a provision that Mark just referred to, that when you get a building permit, you have to get building department approval for a site and landscape plan for parking in the front yard.
Right.
I mean, we were forward thinking with that, already seeing the issues with street parking. I
Right.
mean, it was already starting to accumulate years ago.
Right.
So that's what I find the irony is that we've actually allow for people to design proper front yard parking. They're still not taking advantage of it. They're still
Well,
stacking.
they need to.
And well, that's why
Right.
that's why I don't understand how the hell it even gets through, because we've actually allowed rules to put the parking in front, and they're still not taking advantage
Yeah,
of it.
but we don't have a definition of a residential parking spot, so if.
So that's
you know,
the piece
so it
teeth
allows,
that's missing?
currently, the interpretation is to allow them to stack. And so.
Well, I think there's some properties, it's impossible not to stack, because they have no room on one side,
Right.
and the side that they do have the room, these are in the very
Yeah.
small properties, it's the only place they can put a parking
Right.
lot. You know, unless they want to cement over their entire backyard and create parking.
Or you get rid of the pool.
Stop.
I mean, it gets down to the thing
Well,
of,
some
you know, you
people
can't have
even
everything.
have a pool.
But-
I mean, there
or
are some
this-
people who can't have a pool.
But
I mean,
but what.
and they can't have parking either.
The true problem,
Yeah.
though, is the bedrooms.
right,
And so the parking spots, the bedroom generates the car, which needs the parking
Mm-hmm. Right.
spot.
and the
So
other thing,
defining a bedroom,
right,
and because there's different interpretations of a bedroom.
What's
by the members.
East Hampton doing? I see they're trying to get rid of basement space, or do you have any insight with it? Because I know they've been looking
I
at,
was reading,
like we have.
reading the article,
Yeah.
and what they're
They're
trying
gonna
to do is.
define their basement use or something.
Well, they're trying to limit undergrounds, because I think what's happening is that they're
underground
creating
what space?
underground space.
Or space.
They're expanding basements outside the footprint of the house.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you mean like a bomb shelter or something, like, where they have it
No,
underground?
they're
I'm
just
like,
turning the basement into bedrooms, right? Isn't that what
Well,
you're
it's-
saying?
no,
well,
no, he's
no.
saying
Or
they're
even going beyond
expanding under the
beyond the
ground.
footprint.
Really?
All right.
I got a
Even,
footprint.
wow, holy Christmas, that's really.
And I've actually seen a house in the village that's
Wow.
doing that. And so they're actually, so, you know, they'll have the footprint of the house, and then they expand the basement. And maybe that basement's expanded underneath a porch and other areas. So that's what
Well-
some of the lots where they've maximized the lot coverage, they are doing it all underground now.
So last week, we were shown, and I've given this a lot of thought, last week we were
Batman.
shown, we were shown yeah, Batman.
Yeah.
Last week, we were shown a property that came in for an application, and they had, clearly, the original application had 2 bedrooms, a bath, and a recreation area in the basement. And then when they realized, probably when they went back and said, well, you don't have enough parking for this, they changed it and took out the words bedroom.
Right.
One, they really left a closet. The other one left an area where the closet could be easily put back, but they took out the closet. So we all know what's going to happen. So what I would feel that you could do there is, when they come in to apply for that, and they are doing that, you have to tell them they can't have the bathroom there. Because if you eliminate the bathroom and all of the plumbing that goes with the bathroom, they're going to be less apt to put back the bedrooms. And why do you need a full bathroom down there if you don't have any bedrooms? So I think we need to take a really good
Well,
look
that's
at the
why,
bathroom.
that's why we have to define a bedroom.
Right,
And it's what Suffolk County Department of Health defines a bedroom, and they define space that can potentially be bedrooms, to define the number of bedrooms in the house. So
right.
that's why it's, at the building department, there's different interpretations of what a bedroom is. So we need to solidify that interpretation, and that's one of the challenges, so.
So we're working on that, we're working on the parking,
Yeah.
and
The-
we're working on the height.
The FEMA height.
Well, the
piece.
FEMA height, but I want to go on the height on the smaller
Well,
ones as well.
I had the conversation with Paul Travis last week, and the smaller lots and the height is something that they're going to start working on also, once we get out from underneath the moratorium.
Because I really honestly think that, first of all, this redevelopment is not going to stop. It just isn't.
Right.
And, but what we really, and I understand where people who are gonna come here probably want 5 bedrooms, and they want a nice-sized living room, and they want a nice-sized kitchen, because that's your gathering point at this point. And so the reason why they stick bedrooms in the basement is because in order for them to have all this other stuff, they don't have enough room to have a halfway decent-sized bedroom times 5. So they decide to put it down in the basement. But the point is, then they have to be able to accommodate the parking. But I also think the problem with the way the public perceives this is that on 1/3 of an acre to 1/2 an acre to 1/4 of an acre, you're building a house 35 feet tall.
Right.
If you can get it in
It's wrong.
there, and to them, that looks like the Empire State Building on Moses and Breeze and wherever else it is. And, you know, granted, when it's landscaped, it takes your focus is on really, the landscaping takes away from the height. But really, on that size lot, you could really have 30 or 32 feet, and it would be adequate. And
there's
they'd
the
still
pool.
get in what they want.
Refreshing
And
to
there's
hear
the
you say
pool
that.
house that soon becomes another bedroom
Well,
or two.
that's what also
But you know what,
East
Bill?
Hampton,
Which is it's
East
against.
Hampton.
It is
East
against.
Hampton,
Well,
well,
ours is
yeah,
against
But
it,
East
too.
Hampton actually is looking at reducing lot coverage and restricting some of the things, multiple structures on the site too.
I think another
Which
thing,
is-
just
Lot coverage is key.
Yeah.
you ought to
Yeah, lot coverage.
consider having
That's
some
what
kind of a
we want.
regulation that 2 years after a CO is issued, that you come back and re-inspect the building. Because that cellar that
Yeah.
you thought was a cellar, you'll be amazed what you find.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then the only problem with that, Bill, is so what do
Right.
you do and how do you fine them? You know, our fines are minimal. I mean, they really are, and I don't know how we could make them more, but they're minimal. So what are you gonna do, fine them $1,000? It's laughable. They'll
Well-
write you out a check 10 times that
Well-
to give them what they want. So we have to look at that,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And I don't know
I
by
always say
by
that
state
14
if we're
days in
allowed.
jail, Rick always throws on there, is probably the
I'm telling
best
you,
way to
man.
go, but I can't get the judge to do that one.
So,
But
so that's my
no, it's-
concern. I mean, we can go back, but they don't really care because they're not gonna have to pay very much.
Well, I just, with those
And I think the state
things you were
regulates
looking
that
at, they
yet.
turned the one bedroom, into a gym, and the other bedroom was, what did that become?
Playroom.
Nothing, playroom, right,
Playroom.
playroom.
And I can guarantee you
Oh, there's no question. I
that
mean,
they are
this
not
is-
going to be a playroom or a gym.
Well,
It just may take
Well,
a
if you
12
took the
months.
bathroom out, they might, like,
Yeah, that
instead of
helps. Oh,
say.
good idea.
well,
Yeah,
we
if they have to go
we have bedrooms
upstairs.
down there, if they have to go all the way upstairs to use the
Yeah,
bathroom.
that might, but, no,
But
you're
I-
right,
but here's-
absolutely.
But the other thing I want to just follow up with, it's not about just the homes that are being built and then 2 years later they're converting basements into bedrooms. It's happening in many neighborhoods around here.
Without a doubt.
That people are renting homes, Airbnb being one of them. And we have, 12 or 15 homes that are listed on Airbnb, and I know the chief is working on this right now. But we've got to take strong action against these, because they're bypassing, they're negatively impacting the hotels and the legal bed and breakfasts that are here. They're not collecting sales tax. They're putting people renting rooms in areas that are zoned, residentially zoned areas. Our code is already in
And
place,
they don't have the parking.
and they don't have the parking around it, and the people are,
Neighbors are upset.
they're very upset. So it's definitely something that we have to look at. So the issue boils down to is how do you get back into these homes that are being occupied and go back and do an inspection. So you always go back and say, like, you can't knock on my door and say, hey, I'd like to walk through your house, unless there's a police action and a fire action, ambulance or something or the owner gives you permission to come back and inspect the property.
Well, the town did it by asking for a permit.
The rental permits.
The rental
which
permit.
haven't had a lot of success around that.
Well,
but,
they didn't have success to begin with because they made their permits very cumbersome in the sense that originally the permits were to be no less than 29 days. And I said, when I belonged to the business advisory, how can you require a property owner to have a lease no less than 29 days when the federal government will let you rent your house for 2 weeks tax-free? Well, they didn't know anything about that. So then when they looked into it, they changed it to no less than 2 weeks. But the real purpose of that was for the town to go into these homes to make sure that they have smoke detectors, that they have carbon monoxide detectors, that they have alarms on their doors if the doors open out to the pool area. All of the safety things that are necessary, that was the real purpose of it. They're not in the business to like 1099 you on your
Right.
on your rentals. So, if that's what we're concerned about, and they were also concerned about people renting to people who were living in the basements on mattresses.
Right.
They were very concerned about that. So if we have a concern that we have Airbnb and we have a lot of renters in and out, in and out, in and out, maybe we need, I hate the idea of it, but maybe we need to know and go in and have a method or a way of getting into these houses to check to make sure that they're safe and how they're doing this and telling them that they can't do it. So, because it's not
Which is a
2
rental
weeks
permit.
times 10 over the course of the summer. It's just 2 weeks, really, if they're going to do a 2 weeks tax-free rental.
Which is a rental permit law
Yeah.
to do that, which is,
So, I don't know. I mean, it's just,
Can I just
It's
add one
difficult.
thing, boss? I know, I don't want to
Sure.
beat this up to death, but before I forget, because Nancy just, she mentioned something that made me think about it. And I think one part of when these houses are built, especially the Holy Moses ones that you mentioned, I think what the industry has used so much, and you just alluded to it, was that once you put in screening and screenage and landscape, I get tired. I was always tired of hearing it in the first place, and now I'm really tired of hearing that because that's like putting lipstick on a pig. Because it's saying, oh, once you finish the whole package, you'll never notice it. Now, what's that's created is a bunch of hedgerows and enclosed properties, and that's why we've lost the feeling of villages and neighborhoods because everybody's closed in, and that's how. And that leads me to maybe that's part of the process of how these properties get approved because that's part of how they're presented. Oh, once everything's in, then you won't see it. That shouldn't be part of the approval process. I mean, it's almost, I think it's become a crutch of how these things are approved. I think a gauge should be that if these houses look fine without the screenage and aren't so obscene, I think that should be more considered than how they're gonna look when you put in trees and shrubs and
Well,
hide it, because.
but I think people like privacy.
No, that's not privacy, no, it's hiding, no, there's
Oh, I
privacy, that's a
don't think
hedge.
they do it to hide their house. I think they do it to create privacy on their
No,
property.
when these houses are done with their landscaping, you can't even see the damn thing, and there's a reason why, so it doesn't look so obscene to the rest of the neighborhood.
I don't
I have
know.
a hedge in my
Landscaping
house.
can be obscene. That house on the corner of Herrick and.
That's to disguise it so it doesn't look so huge and obscene to
Put
the
in
rest of the
20-foot
neighborhood.
high-
It's not about privacy. Because there is no privacy. You're right up to the edge of your neighbor, so privacy's already gone. But just something else. That's enough.
okay.
Thanks.
So obviously, we have a few things we gotta work on here, so,
In addition to the supermarket and all the other stuff.
so, also, helipad in East Hampton, they,
Oh, yeah.
it passed 3 out of the 4 laws that, and Steve got me a report from Vector, our company that monitors our activity and charges fees. So, looking at so I'll get that report out to everybody so you can look at it. So I think what we need to do is we need to put some type of restriction on number of landings per helicopter at there, just to,
I
prevent.
thought we have restrictions, time restrictions.
We do have time restrictions. So we have operational time restrictions. We charge a fee based on the size of the helicraft. But we don't have, one of the things that East Hampton did is they're limiting the number of landings per helicopter from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And I think it's what, 2?
I think it's
Twice.
3.
Yeah, 3.
I actually have a
3 the
call with,
entire summer?
Pete
No,
Golden
per
tomorrow
calendar
morning.
week.
Pete and I are conversing
Okay.
on this tomorrow morning at 9.
Okay. So I think we've got to look at, because I'm very afraid of spillover into the village, and we had almost 1,100 landings from Memorial Day to Labor Day last year. So it's a lot, you know. Some weeks we had one helicraft that was, the most I saw in one week was 11 landings or 13 landings in a 1 week time frame. There's a couple of different companies out there that provide charter services back and forth, and then and so we need to recognize that. And then we had some privately owned helicopters of village residents that had multiple landings in a week. So just studying those numbers, trying to figure out a game plan around that, and try to ensure that we don't end up with a lot more landings. I should say any more landings than what we have right now, which is already a lot. So we've maxed out on that. So, and I don't know what's going to happen with the Helicopter Association, if there's going to be lawsuits around what happened.
It's filed today.
It's filed today? Okay, I'm not surprised by that at all.
The helicopter associations are
Against
filing.
Against the East Hampton Airport.
So I'm not surprised by that, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a few individuals that are actually going to file that utilize that heliport there, that airport there for landing. So, but so that's and then finally, I just wanted to say, if you haven't had a chance to get down and see the boardwalk over there.
I haven't walked on it yet, but
It's
beautiful.
they've seeded it out. They've done a nice job. One of the things I'd like to, think in terms of, recognizing that boardwalk. I'd like to, dedicate that to the men and women that have served their country. And we have the memorials down at Agawam Park, and there's been a lot of veterans that live out here and participate, and I'd like to, if we, in Memorial Day, be able to dedicate that to the men and women of this community that have served their country. I don't know how you guys feel about that? It's a very hard thing to say no to. I recognize that, so, but, and we could get a nice plaque to,
Are we picking any one particular
no,
war?
we're
or
not,
just
we're not
all
gonna
of
pick
them?
one particular war, we're not gonna pick one particular person. We're going to dedicate it to the men and women that have served their country
Memorial
as a,
boardwalk.
yeah.
Ties it in.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can think of a name, whether we want to call it Veterans Boardwalk or,
Veterans
something
Way.
like that. Veterans Way or something, if we want to do something like that, so. But think about that over the next week or so and try to get something generated for Memorial Day, which would be good. So, okay, so that being said, I got a second public comment. Anybody from the public would like to, Bruce?
Thank you. Bruce Bachman, 660 Halsey Neck Lane. First of all, I want to thank you for probably the best compilation of wisdom I've heard at a town meeting in years on both County Road 939 and on the parking and housing situation. Nancy, I just think if all of the people who've been here for the last 6 months heard you speak on those two subjects, they would back you 100%, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I am sorry it's not about bedrooms. It's not about bedrooms. That's a bit of sophistry, which is just delaying the whole process. It's about parking spaces. And you could create a formula very easy that said, I've got a 1 acre lot. I subtract out the footprint of the house. I take that and I divide it by the number of cars not the number of cars, I'm sorry, the number of parking spaces I want to put. Everyone has to have direct access to the road. And in an hour, you could come up with a solution without going through all this other stuff, which you can't enforce.
We have to define a bedroom.
No, you don't.
You do have
Not
to
the
define
parking
it.
lots. I'm sorry you do, because that's the way the law is written. The connectivity is in the law, but that's as easy to change as anything else you're trying to do. It's about parking. And you should focus on parking, get off the bedroom kick, we'll solve that next year. Why go worry about bedrooms anyways? You can't enforce it, but you can enforce parking spaces. And you
But
can
Bruce,
figure out a
Disagree
calculation.
with you on that.
How would
so-
you?
You can.
Respect.
I can do it. I
How
can do
would
it now. I
you-
can draw it up in half an hour.
How would you formulate the number of parking spaces required in a house without knowing?
It's not important. It's how many does that piece of property support?
So
Not
you-
how many you have in the house.
My only
Because
concern,
I can put more bedrooms in by making them bigger or larger or smaller. I can, but basically, it's the size of the property that's the problem, and the relative size of the entire house that's the
So
problem.
you're looking at the lot size,
The lot size, not the bedrooms.
and that would dictate the number of parking spaces.
Absolutely. The lot size may be less the footprint of the house. In other words, what the square footage is. Then you could take that and you could take the rules, and it was discussed in the planning commission. Probably every parking space should be able to get out to the road without you having to move another car. Mathematically, you can figure that out for every possible lot.
I don't
And
think
it's-
you can, no.
Well, I'll bring in a couple of guys that can do it for you.
I mean,
for
the
any
older
formula you
lots,
need.
the older lots and the smaller lots in the village of Southampton, traditionally, some of them even shared property lines.
Oh, I understand that, yes.
And they all are designed for stacked parking. And, I mean, my house in particular, there is no way you could put parking anywheres, other
Right, and
than
you're
a stacked
grandfathered.
parking.
You're grandfathered, but we're not worried about.
I am grandfathered, you are
grandfathered.
correct.
And, no, so am I. I know what it means, but the fact is that this is something you can figure out a lot easier than figuring out how to determine what's a bedroom and how to enforce it. It's much easier. And the only reason you're going the other way is I've got some feeling that somebody wants to just delay this issue until all
No.
those things
I
get
would-
built. I know.
I would-
But that's the impression that we
but I
have,
mean, if,
because
let's
it's
do the
complicating and
math
simple.
for a second. Let's do the math for a
calculation.
second. If you have a 0.25 of an acre, which is a quarter of an acre,
Right.
okay, so that's 12,000 square feet.
Right.
Okay, 12,050 square feet, 12,500 square feet. And let's say you have a 2,000 square foot house. Let's say you have a 2,500. 2,000 is easy. We can do the math.
Okay.
So the footprint, that's a two-story, is 1,000 square feet. So you subtract 1,000, which gives you 11,500 remaining.
Right.
Okay. So what percentage then would you be recommending as a parking allowance for, 12,500 minus 1,000 footprint?
They could do the whole thing with parking if they wanted. Why not?
Well,
They're
that's a
not going
bad
to.
thing, and I'll
They're not
tell you
going to.
why.
But they're not going to, and you know that.
No, but we don't even want to allow that, because
But if
that's a
you-
really bad thing, because that will end up with front yards paved over and lots of trucks. Hate to tell you, but that's what's going to happen. You're going to have trucks, you're going to have SUVs, you're going to have all these cars, and then what happens when you have a family in there and the kids now have cars? Do you want to go down the street and see cars lined up in the entire front yard? I don't.
Right, but I'm not going to solve that by dealing with going at it for bedrooms. That's my point.
Well, I think.
And we think we can figure out a formula that deals with
Right.
parking, which is the issue,
Right.
which is measurable
See,
and
the thing-
enforceable. I don't know what the answer is, Nancy, but it's not.
But we need to work on it. That's what
We should be working
yeah.
on that, not on bedrooms and the relationship of bedrooms to parking.
Well, see, we felt the bedrooms were a good, well, first of all, it's in the
I know,
code
I
anyway.
understand.
But I also have to say, years ago, when we had garages, they had in the older lots, your garage was practically on the property line. And then at one point, they pushed it off, 15 feet off the property line. And I said, why did we move garages 15 feet if your driveway can be right on the line? And on the smaller lots, it's cumbersome at best
Mm-hmm.
to now build a garage that's 15 feet off of your line, and you're driveway comes in and then goes into your garage. Why can't we have it the old way? Why can't we have on the smaller lots, the garage as close to the line as possible? And we agreed 5 feet off of the line. And if the garage on the next property, it had to be 5 feet because the firemen needed to be able to get in there. So we figured that out, and that was fine. We also at that point said, you can't have a driveway where you're gonna be looking at the car. So you have to somehow get your car off of the road and parked in such a way that you can't see it. So at that point, you had to come down the driveway, you had to turn into the backyard, and you had to park your car if it wasn't going in the garage. And I said, how could you do that to someone? Because you're now taking up their entire backyard. They can't have a patio, they can't have anything. It's just not the right thing. So then we came up with some front yard. And then there were lots of people complaining that people were gonna have their garage attached in the front, creating a courtyard, and now we're gonna have all this front yard parking. But now that everybody's gotten used to not having to park in the backyard and having a car in your yard when you walk out the back door, they're now saying, let's do it in the front yard. So I think the whole idea of the bedroom, making them accountable for the amount of bedroom spaces, is a way of saying, okay, you have to have this. If you can't have that, then you can't have those bedrooms. That's basically what we're saying. Is that not true?
Yeah, but well, you're starting with the parking, and now you're correlating it towards bedrooms, and you're talking about your solution of this, starting with bedrooms and then correlating the parking, and I think that's wrong.
Parking's been
I think that's
determined based on the number of bedrooms in the house.
That's okay, Mark.
And-
I've got a lot of things that have been always based on.
Well-
And I'll tell you, with some real thoughtful thinking in a contemporary setting, those old formulas ought to be ignored.
You know, if it could
and
prove
changed,
to be better,
because
I'm
you're
all
going-
ears.
We haven't had anybody come in here and say, you know, I really don't like it that he's got 6 bedrooms. I'm not worried about the effect on the street that he's got 5 bedrooms. Nobody's worried about that.
I
And that's what-
I disagree, I respectfully
haven't heard
disagree
that.
with, they have.
I mean, I understand it because
Yeah.
I agree with them. You know, I agree, but I don't think it's the issue that's the immediate issue. The immediate issue is your parking, and you should start by looking at the parking and how you deal with that, because it's, first of all, it's more enforceable. First of all, it's measurable. And second of all, it's really difficult to play games with that, because you're not going to be able to add on to your parking space 2 years later and hope that the building inspector doesn't come. That's where your problem is, that's where you should be attacking it.
But they're never going to, you're gonna go in, maybe they don't build out their basement. They leave it wide open. Because we have some areas around here where they go through and they subdivide the basements up.
I understand.
And then you end up with all the cars all over the lawns there. So it's, trying to
But that's,
define, because what happens with the county defines bedrooms and potential places where bedrooms are gonna be. So they tell you that the total number of bedrooms in a house, that you might come in and say, I got a 5-bedroom house, but according to the county rules, it's an 8-bedroom house. So you define the bedroom, and it says now you've got to show 7 parking spots on your property here, and if we do it right, 7 unstacked parking spots on the property here. So now, well, guess what? You can't build a house this big, because your property's not big enough.
right,
And,
absolutely. But
Bill.
Just one suggestion. Mark, didn't you, a year and a half ago, send a letter to Paul Travis in which you pointed out the various zoning restrictions and rules that the various surrounding communities had? And it would seem to me that we ought to try and put together, East Hampton Village has always been the paragon, in my mind, of good zoning, and see how they handle parking. And if you want to throw in West Hampton, the town of Southampton, the town of East Hampton, and Quogue, and so on. It'd be interesting to see how other people are dealing with it, and just have it in one little folder.
Well, they actually do. Paul Travis has the definition of East Hampton's residential parking spots.
Could you make it up for us, though?
We can get a copy of,
Somebody could just do that,
yeah.
because after all, this isn't a new problem, you know?
No, it's not.
It's
But it's
widespread, so it'd be interesting to see how other people are
Yeah.
dealing with it, and I'd love to, adopt East Hampton Village's height regulations just as is, and then if we want to loosen them up some other day, do it. But just stop the stuff that's going on in this community. It really defiles street after street. And I think height is the biggest issue, and then I think parking's right behind it. But if we had an idea of what other people do, then we'd know that, they've been through the mill too, so
You know,
anyhow.
I'm
just-
thinking, I said it needs also to be safe. I mean, if we're going by the bedrooms and they're not creating adequate parking, it's not safe. It's not safe because it's spilling over into the
Right,
sidewalks.
I understand.
It's not safe to get in and out of your driveway if you're stacking them. It's difficult. And, I live in a neighborhood that there's no other choice but that,
No, and Nancy, and I understand that. But when we started this conversation, you gave me, and a couple of you gave me, a set of criteria and issues, right? They were all parking. They were all things that can be calculated, that can be solved by thinking through exactly what you want to achieve, how much percent of a property can be paved, how much of a percentage of property can be housed, and you probably got guidelines for that, I'm not sure. And then the parking falls out by establishing the proper size and shape of, and requirements for a parking space. You can do that. And it doesn't require you to deal with, although it's a peripheral, or, I'm sorry, it's a connected issue, to be sure. But then you can solve for the other one. And both of them have different enforcement requirements. But one's easier to enforce than the other, no question about it, because one's visible and the other isn't. Obviously, somebody's gaming the system now because we're getting combinations which are just creating an unsafe, acceptable thing. Well, let's make it really tough to not game it. And one of the easy things is to do is let's decide what's the appropriate amount of parking for a given lot and let the rules be established. And I know you can do it. And it wouldn't take, a couple of good mathematicians, if you gave them the criteria, more than a couple hours to give you an entire scale, all the way down from 1/4 of an acre to 0.38 of an acre. You could create that, and you would have a solution, which you could
I think we're open to
enforce.
anything, whatever comes out to be what's best and safest for the community is what we're interested in.
Right,
So,
but
I mean,
got-
we
but
can look
got
at that.
Both of them, but they're two different issues, and you can break them up. You don't have to connect them, and you can solve for them. And I think we may complicate the problem by going at it and saying, God, we got too many bedrooms. Well, actually, what for a lot of us and for a lot of the village, what we've got is too much parking on too little a space.
Well, we're saying we don't have enough. That's the problem. They're saying there's not enough
Yeah,
parking.
but okay, but that's because everybody insists they have
Because we have
5
too many,
cars.
because we have too many bedrooms
Yeah, we
in
got
a
too many
house
people with a
on
lot of
small
money.
lot,
Yeah, we got a
generates
lot, we got a lot
parking
of people that have got, each
so.
of their kids have got a car.
Yeah.
Why do we restrict the number of kids?
Anyone knows about
You know,
that?
no, I'm just being
Yeah.
serious.
Hey, look, I tried telling my wife that.
But I'm trying to, Bill lost that conversation decades ago.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I really think, I would just ask you to think about it as to whether it's appropriate, because I think you can do it faster and solve that problem. I would attack it from the parking problem, because that's what we're trying to solve for first. And then you can attack it from the bedroom problem, which is a safety issue within the house, but doesn't affect the neighborhood except through the parking. That's all I'm asking.
The thing that
Just
really
think about it that
bothered
way.
me about the person who went over to the building department and showed the basement as having 2 bedrooms, a bath, and a recreation area, whatever it was. Who and how did they realize that they had to change that? That's what I want to know. Did their architect tell them, oh, you can't do that because you're going to have now 2 additional parking spots? Did the building department say, oh, now you're going to need 2 extra? Oh, I do? Well, maybe I
No,
should
I
take that out.
did.
You did?
Because I was looking at the plans, I said, you don't have enough parking on here, you can't build this stuff.
So they took it out and kept the bathroom, and we
Well,
know they're putting it
that's
back.
when I said to him, I said,
And then they
and
gained,
that's what led to the conversation of what is the definition of a bedroom.
right.
Because they said, well, we're not building any bedrooms, we're not building out the basement now. Okay?
For
So
now.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that was the application, so they modified the application and not to
Really?
build out
I
the
mean-
basement, even though I know, and so I went back and I said to So I had the building inspectors in, and they said, well, how do you define a bedroom? How can they just go and say, I'm gonna pull the bedrooms out of the basement, we're not gonna do this? And then, so one was interpreting it based on what the plans were, another's interpreting it based on what, the way Suffolk County Planning Commission, Suffolk County Department of Health defines. So there's nothing in the law that says, this is how the building department's gonna interpret the number of bedrooms. So we need to do that. Therefore, because
Well,
their
they do have to have a form of
solution.
egress,
Yeah,
and
but-
so, you know.
But you could say, I'm building a form of egress with an open basement, because I'm gonna put a pool table down here, so,
I'm
or a
with you,
gym.
I'm with you totally.
Yeah.
I'm not
I'm
arguing
saying-
that at all. I'm arguing that
yeah.
basically it is not necessary to tie the two together to solve the
But
parking
it-
problem.
And I would respectfully disagree with you, because I truly believe that the number of bedrooms are what generates the number of cars that end up out on the street at nighttime, because they don't have adequate space on their property, based on, the number of bedrooms. And so it's a very challenging issue.
I think it all
So,
depends
yeah.
on what the makeup is of the household that's there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you can
There's
have a
no- there's
husband
no
and wife that
absolute.
each have a car, so that's one bedroom and two spaces. And then you can have a whole bunch of kids in all the other rooms, and they're not driving yet. So they don't need a lot of parking spaces. But the day that they are driving and they get a car, then they don't have adequate parking if they haven't planned
And they
for
have
it.
bunk beds,
And then-
and they have their friends over, and the friends have cars.
Yeah.
I can imagine
Yeah.
a
And then-
myriad of
And then you have people who
variations.
are young singles who purchase these houses, and all their friends come out, and all the cars get lined up.
Understand?
And so it really depends, but you can't police. So you have to just assume that eventually there may be a requirement for a car for each one of those bedrooms. If it can't be worked out your way, I'm fascinated by your way. I'd like to see how that,
I just think, I'm getting frustrated. I see things delayed and delayed and delayed because they're made more
government. I
complicated
hate
than
to
they
say
are.
it.
No, it's not government. It's basically decision-making here. And that
well, we
things are
haven't
put
gotten
off.
anything from the planning commission
But-
yet,
Yeah,
yeah.
but the planning commission only meets once a month, and that's another issue. But this is just taking a problem, or two problems, or three problems, and breaking them up into its pieces and solving for each one, rather than interconnecting them all when you don't have to. And that's just a simple technique for solving each one in its own time. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Thank you. You're the mayor, so you'll probably win this discussion.
No, hey, look, I'm not.
I'm serious about
I'm
this.
not-
I
I'm
think it's a
not-
simple.
I'd be curious to
I'm
see
I'm
how
not
that,
sold
how
one way or
that
the
would
other.
work.
I'm open to a lot of ideas and stuff like that, so it's, yeah. but
Never said you
And
weren't.
there are pre-existing homes that we've got to address. There's overcrowding in homes. You've got people that are building out basements. So
understand.
there's a lot of things that, the rental permit actually is every,
I
all
mean,
the-
when
all
the
the
town
towns are
did it, I
doing
said, oh, God, let's not us do this. And you know what? Now it's kind of like,
Yeah, we also don't want to
Maybe
be an
we-
enforcement-oriented village.
Well, therein lies part of the rope, how heavy.
We
you get.
don't
But-
want to do that. I understand that.
But what I think you've actually interestingly presented was a mathematical way, and a purely based on arithmetic, mathematical way to reduce the size of the house, which is, I get what you're saying, that's part of the issue, is the size of these damn houses.
Exactly.
And everything that goes along with them. So I see how you're coming in from
But
the
if you wanna
side
build a
saying, we're
big
gonna,
house-
you mathematically, just by backing into it
Right.
this way with the parking.
If you want to
so it's
build a
part
big
of the
house, well,
plan,
you're going to have less parking.
So,
I'm sorry.
you know,
That's going to be the deal.
which I think is an interesting.
If
See,
you want
the
to get rid of your rec
interesting-
room, you probably have a little more parking.
Yeah.
You know, there's all sorts of ways to cut this, but
The
they don't
interesting-
have to be by the number of bedrooms, which isn't the relevant issue. The relevant issue is
But you
the
have to
size
have
of
a
the
Well, that does
space.
play a
formula.
part in it. That plays a part in the house.
You
The
have to
size
have
of
a
the
formula
space.
that
But I
is
see your point.
rationally related to the need for parking.
right.
Yes, exactly.
You can't just say that a lot that has X square feet of lot area has to have 5 spaces or 20 spaces or whatever. That's all I'm hearing
But
from
it
you.
cannot have more than. If you take a lot and you subtract out the size of your house that you want to build, that gives you, that's X minus Y equals Z, and Z is the amount you come on. Even if you're a lawyer, you can do that sort of math. And basically, you end up with a certain amount of.
I don't hear you presenting any
I'm
kind
not,
of.
I'm just here to say, let's break the problem down. I don't know what the
I
answer
don't hear
is
you,
yet.
have you presented your ideas before the planning commission?
Yes,
Okay. well
we've
then-
talked about it. I've been over the meetings. I was there with him. We've talked about it.
Because I'm still not hearing any kind of a formula from you.
Yes, because I've been here for 15 minutes, and all I'm saying to all of you is there is another way of attacking this problem, and I don't have to stand here and give the answer. You do. Okay, and I'm just saying there's another way of doing it.
Yeah, and look,
I'm sorry, I'm
that's okay, that's
getting it calmed
okay.
down because that sort of comment is what delays
Well,
things.
no,
Yeah,
no.
it had no purpose.
Okay, so let's move on. So, I
I just want
mean,
to go back to the rental permit. I just want to bring that up again.
I'll
Mainly-
sit down. I'm happy to listen to you on these
so,
issues.
okay, all right.
At
All right.
one point.
All right,
Okay, thanks, Bruce, yes.
I think the rental permit, the interesting thing about the rental permit is that, you have a lot of houses in the town that rent, and not everyone has a rental permit. But the interesting thing about the rental permit is the first complaint, or any complaint that's made by a house who's having a party, or a lot of cars that are parked there, when the police go over there to investigate, that's the first thing they ask for is the rental permit. And the tenant is supposed to have the rental permit with their name on it in the house. And if there is no rental permit, that homeowner is fined a sizable amount of money. So I think it's interesting in a village that is as small as our village, that if we were to go that route, primarily for safety purposes, and also for making sure that, it's not out of control. So, I mean, it's a thought. I was so totally against it when I heard they were doing it. And I think a lot of people don't get it because they think that they're gonna be 1099, or they're gonna know what their money they're getting, which has nothing to do with anyone really, except for the homeowner, really, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, come on up, Mark.
We have a group.
Actually, come on up to the
We have a
microphone.
group rental control ordinance in the village of Southampton.
We do.
So that's supposed to take care of it, but nobody enforces it.
Well, that's not true.
Well, they don't enforce it all the time, okay?
We had a group rental around the corner from me that was creating a huge ruckus. I called the police department. The police department went over to the house on several different occasions.
Well, all right,
Notified the
that's-
homeowner, and they asked them to leave. They were
Okay,
asked
I
to
have
leave.
one right down the street on South Hill Street, okay?
Name, please?
Margot Horn. Yeah, and they're like 10 or 15 cars sometimes in the summer. I think they bought it as a group, like an LLC or whatever. They bought it as a group, not as an independent family or something like that. So they do shares or whatever. And the next door neighbor doesn't like it very much. It's away from me, but I walk my dog down there and I see it. I say, there's something radically wrong here. Then, as Mr. Bachman was saying about those bedrooms and everything, well, there was a house in back of me, and I'm on only a quarter of an acre on the corner of Captain's Neck and South Hill Street, and it was an old house. It was torn down, and then this builder came into town, and he built this big house there
Oh, I know
and
which one, yeah.
put the garage right next to my bedroom. So every time they come in, I feel like a car is driving into my bedroom. All right, you see the lights, you hear the noise. When the other guy was there, even though he was old, even if he was young, it was a smaller house. The garage was a little back further. And so I don't know how they get away with this stuff, but they do. And they have the basement out on that one, too. That's all I have to say. That's all I see. And I hope it all works out. I pray.
So do I. Anyone else like to make a comment? Okay. So I make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personal matters involving village employees.
Second? Second. All in favor?
All right.